Introduction. Welcome back. I've got something special lined up for you. What if you could command attention, inspire trust, and leave a lasting impression without saying a single word? Imagine entering a room and people naturally gravitate toward you, eager to listen, follow, and connect. This invisible force, the subtle magnet of presence, is what separates ordinary individuals from truly captivating leaders. Presence is more than confidence or charm. It is the alignment of your inner self with the energy you project outward. It transforms everyday interactions into meaningful connections and gives you the power to influence and inspire effortlessly. Throughout this book, we will explore how presence shapes perception, builds trust, and amplifies your impact in every area of life. Each chapter will provide practical insights, real-world examples, and actionable exercises to help you cultivate presence, strengthen your charisma, and leave an unforgettable impression on everyone you meet, whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or leadership roles. Mastering presence is the key to becoming the person others naturally want to follow, listen to, and remember. Hold DVD. Subscribe to our channel. Hit a like, share it with friends, and leave a comment. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for all updates. Chapter 1. The Power of Presence. What if you could command attention, inspire trust, and leave a lasting impression without saying a single word? Imagine entering a room and people naturally gravitate toward you, eager to listen, follow, and connect. This invisible force, the subtle magnet of presence, is what separates ordinary individuals from truly captivating leaders. Presence is more than mere confidence or charm. It is the alignment of your inner self with the energy you project outward. It is the quiet, invisible force that communicates authority, empathy, and credibility before you even speak. Individuals who cultivate presence are often perceived as more competent, trustworthy, and inspiring, regardless of their technical skills or formal status. Consider these two managers enter a team meeting. One is technically brilliant, but appears distracted, fidgety, and hesitant. The other, less skilled on paper, exudes calm confidence, makes eye contact, and listens attentively. Who do the team naturally follow? The second manager, because presence conveys authority, emotional intelligence, and stability. Presence is the silent language of influence. Developing presence begins with self-awareness. When you understand your values, emotions, and intentions, your outer expression becomes authentic rather than performative. This authenticity is magnetic. It draws people in, encourages trust, and fosters meaningful connections. Presence also requires deliberate control of body language, vocal tone, and energy. Standing tall, making eye contact, and speaking with clarity instantly signals confidence and competence. Even small gestures, such as a measured pause before responding, nodding in acknowledgement, or subtly mirroring another person's posture, can amplify your impact. Presence is not static. It evolves in every interaction. It is shaped by how you listen, respond, and engage. Smooth flow between thoughts and behaviors ensures that presence is perceived naturally rather than forced. For instance, a leader who interrupts constantly may be confident, but their presence feels aggressive and off. In contrast, one who balances speaking and listening, adjusts tone and pace, and transitions ideas thoughtfully, maintains an effortless aura of authority. Building presence also requires intentional mental focus. Before a meeting, conversation, or presentation, ground yourself. Take a deep breath, visualize calm confidence, and center your thoughts on the value you bring. This mental rehearsal influences your physical and verbal expression, creating consistency between inner state and outer projection. Over time, these small habits compound, transforming your presence from an occasional impression into a reliable personal trademark. Moreover, presence flows into emotional influence. Humans instinctively respond to energy. Someone who appears anxious or disconnected may inadvertently lower group morale, while someone who radiates calm confidence elevates engagement and motivation. Presence is therefore both personal and relational. It shapes, Not only how others perceive you, but also how they feel and act in your presence. Every element of presence, body language, vocal tone, mental focus connects back to authenticity, and when your internal state aligns with your external expression, every interaction reinforces credibility and trust. Repetition of key behaviors, like maintaining eye contact, active listening, and calm articulation, strengthens your presence over time. Historical and contemporary examples illustrate this link. Martin Luther King Jr., for instance, captivated audiences not only through words, but because his presence embodied conviction, empathy, and vision. Steve Jobs drew attention because he projected confidence and passion so consistently that his mere entrance commanded focus. In everyday life, these principles apply equally to managers, teachers, public speakers, or anyone aiming to inspire influence. Presence also connects ideas across contexts. A confident introduction sets the tone. Attentive listening sustains engagement, and thoughtful responses deepen trust. Cause and effect is clear. Because leaders project presence, their teams are more engaged. Because they are engaged, collaboration and creativity thrive. Each action, word, and gesture reinforces a cohesive, authentic narrative that others experience subconsciously. Presence is not inherited, it is cultivated through deliberate awareness, practice, and reflection. Begin today by observing yourself. How do you walk into a room? How do people respond to your words and energy? Take note of your posture, eye contact, and tone. Start small. Maintain eye contact during conversations. Pause before responding to show thoughtfulness, and speak with clarity and intention. Set aside moments daily to center yourself. Reflect on your values and goals. Then align your behavior accordingly. Practice active listening. Engage with empathy, and focus on quality over quantity in interactions. Each conscious effort strengthens your presence, making it more consistent, authentic, and impactful. Remember, presence is not about dominating a room or overshadowing others. It is about creating an environment where people feel seen, valued, and inspired. It is the subtle yet powerful magnet that draws people to you, makes your message resonate, and ensures you leave a lasting impression. By cultivating presence, you unlock influence, charisma, and the ability to connect meaningfully with anyone you encounter. Take action today. Walk into your next conversation, meeting, or gathering with awareness, confidence, and authenticity. Let your presence speak before you say a word. The more intentional you become, the more you will captivate, inspire, and lead naturally and effortlessly. Chapter 2. Mastering the Art of Connection. Connection is the invisible thread that binds humans together, and mastering it is essential for influence, trust, and authentic relationships. What if every conversation you had left a lasting impression? Every interaction built loyalty, and every connection you made felt effortless and genuine. The ability to connect deeply with others is not a talent reserved for a select few. It is a skill that can be cultivated through awareness, empathy, and intention. Connection begins with listening, not just hearing words, but understanding the emotions, motivations, and context behind them. When people feel truly understood, they lower their guard, open their hearts, and respond with engagement and trust. Listening with presence allows you to pick up subtle cues, tone, posture, and choice of words that reveal what truly matters to them. This awareness transforms ordinary exchanges into meaningful connections that go beyond superficial small talk. Strength in connection comes from aligning empathy with authenticity. People are drawn to those who are not only attentive, but genuine in their responses. Authenticity is conveyed in subtle ways, maintaining eye contact, mirroring body language appropriately, and expressing emotions honestly without over-exaggeration. These behaviors communicate reliability and create a sense of safety, signaling to others that your intentions are sincere. To illustrate, consider two colleagues sharing feedback. One offers advice mechanically, without acknowledging the listener's perspective or emotions, while the other responds thoughtfully, recognizing feelings and validating experiences. The latter builds trust, fosters collaboration, and leaves the recipient feeling respected and valued. Flow in connection is equally vital. Conversations, like narratives, must progress naturally, with smooth transitions between topics and ideas. Abrupt shifts, interruptions, or forced attempts at humor disrupt engagement and weaken the perception of presence. Thoughtful sequencing, starting with observation, moving to insight, and ending with action or reflection, guides the other person through a meaningful exchange, leaving them not only understood but inspired. Connectivity is strengthened by repetition of key themes and reinforcement of shared values, using consistent language, reflecting back ideas, and drawing links between concepts helps create a coherent experience that resonates on a deeper level. When you highlight common goals, beliefs, or aspirations, you transform isolated interactions into a tapestry of ongoing rapport. Historical examples demonstrate the power of connection. Mahatma Gandhi, for instance, inspired millions not merely through rhetoric, but through his ability to connect personally with individuals across cultures and social strata, embodying humility and empathy. In the modern world, leaders like Oprah Winfrey create influence by connecting authentically, listening attentively, and sharing stories that resonate with universal human experiences. Connection also requires emotional intelligence, the ability to perceive, interpret, and respond to others' emotions accurately. It is not enough to recognize emotions. One must respond in ways that validate and support the other person's experience. This skill strengthens bonds, reduces conflict, and encourages openness. Daily practices can cultivate this ability. Observe reactions during interactions, note patterns of emotional triggers, and refine your responses to be both empathetic and constructive. Flowing naturally from observation to understanding to response ensures conversations remain engaging and meaningful. Additionally, presence amplifies connection. When you are fully engaged mentally, emotionally, and physically, others feel valued and seen. Simple gestures such as leaning slightly forward, nodding to acknowledge points, and maintaining steady eye contact signal attention and care. Presence transforms interactions from transactional to transformational, where both parties leave enriched and inspired. Call to action lies in deliberate practice. Begin with small steps. Listen fully in one-on-one conversations without planning your response. Reflect on what matters most to the person you are speaking with, and respond authentically and over time, these habits compound, building a reputation for reliability, empathy, and magnetism. To enhance connection, embrace storytelling. Sharing personal experiences that align with the listener's values or challenges deepens understanding and stories bypass intellectual barriers, appealing directly to emotions, and creating shared experiences that foster trust. Likewise, asking thoughtful, open-ended questions encourages dialogue and discovery. Questions like "What inspired you to pursue this?" or "How did that experience shape your perspective?" invite reflection, reveal priorities, and strengthen relational bonds. Connection is also about giving without expectation. Small gestures of support, acknowledgement, or encouragement cultivate goodwill and reciprocity. When people experience genuine care, they naturally gravitate toward you. Respond positively, and remember the interaction long after it ends. Building a network of meaningful connections is not about quantity, but quality. Each interaction is an opportunity to leave a lasting impression, convey authenticity, and strengthen trust. Reflect on past interactions, which left you feeling energized, understood, and inspired. Analyze the behaviors, words, and presence that made those experiences impactful and replicate them consciously. Presence, empathy, authenticity, and intentionality together create a formula for mastery of connection. Each interaction becomes a platform to reinforce credibility, demonstrate care, and inspire engagement. By cultivating this skill, you not only influence others, but also enrich your own life with deeper relationships, stronger collaborations, and a sense of belonging. Start today by being present, listening actively, responding authentically, and seeking to understand before being understood. Every meaningful conversation, thoughtful question, and empathetic gesture strengthens your ability to connect deeply and consistently. Connection is a skill, a practice, and an art. As you refine it, you will notice a transformation in your interactions. People lean in, trust grows, engagement increases, and your influence expands naturally. The power of connection lies not in what you say, but in how you make others feel. And the more intentional you are, the more magnetic your presence becomes. Approach every interaction with awareness, empathy, and authenticity, and watch your relationships, personal influence, and professional impact flourish in ways previously unimaginable. Chapter 3. The Magnetism of Influence. Influence is the quiet force that shapes decisions, inspires action, and leaves a lasting mark on the people around you. What if every word you spoke, every action you took, could inspire cooperation, trust, and admiration? Influence is not about manipulation or coercion. It is about aligning your presence, intentions, and communication in ways that naturally draw people toward your ideas. It begins with understanding human behavior and the factors that motivate people to act. Influence is strongest when it is rooted in credibility, authenticity, and empathy. People follow those they trust, admire, and feel a connection with. Without trust, even the most brilliant ideas often fall flat. Strength and influence comes from clarity of purpose and consistency of action. Leaders who consistently demonstrate integrity, competence, and empathy naturally gain the respect and attention of others. Consider a manager who provides honest feedback, acknowledges contributions, and maintains transparent communication. Their team is more likely to follow guidance, embrace challenges, and align with shared goals because the influence is earned, not demanded. Influence is also about communication. The ability to convey ideas clearly, persuasively, and memorably determines whether others embrace your vision or ignore it. Storytelling, metaphors, and analogies make complex concepts relatable and memorable. A single story, shared authentically, can have far more impact than pages of data or abstract reasoning. Flow and influence requires timing, rhythm, and attentiveness to context. Every interaction is an opportunity to reinforce trust, present ideas compellingly, and guide decisions without force. Abrupt demands, inconsistency, or overbearing behavior erode influence. By contrast, subtle guidance, well-timed suggestions, and supportive language create an environment where influence feels natural and welcomed. Connectivity strengthens influence. Each interaction, statement, and action should link back to core values and overarching goals. Repetition of themes, acknowledgement of shared priorities, and reinforcement of positive behaviors make influence coherent and persuasive. Influence is cumulative. Small, consistent actions and messages over time build credibility and authority. Historical examples illustrate the power of influence in shaping behavior and outcomes. Leaders such as Nelson Mandela inspired entire nations through authenticity, resilience, and a clear vision of justice. In the business world, figures like Richard Branson or Elon Musk influence through consistency, clarity, and charisma, drawing teams and audiences toward shared objectives. Influence is also about emotional intelligence, the ability to read, interpret, and respond appropriately to others' emotions. By understanding what drives, excites, or concerns people, you can tailor your communication and actions to resonate meaningfully. Influence without empathy often feels forced, hollow, or manipulative. Influence with empathy inspires loyalty, engagement, and respect. Daily practices enhance your ability to influence. Observe reactions during conversations, identify what motivates those around you, and adjust your approach to resonate with their values. Practice active listening, validate perspectives, and communicate clearly and persuasively. Influence grows when people feel seen, understood, and respected. Presence amplifies influence. A person who speaks with confidence, maintains composure under pressure, and demonstrates attentive engagement naturally draws attention and credibility. Energy, posture, and tone communicate as much as words do, reinforcing the messages you convey. Influence is not confined to professional settings. It shapes personal relationships, social dynamics, and everyday interactions. Friends, family, colleagues, and even strangers respond to those who inspire trust, articulate ideas effectively, and act with integrity. Call to action lies in intentional practice. Begin by aligning your words with your values, acting consistently with integrity, and observing how your communication affects others. Notice what behaviors encourage engagement and trust, and refine your approach to maximize positive impact. Influence is about serving others' needs while guiding them toward shared goals. Use storytelling to make your vision tangible. Ask questions that provoke thought and offer support that demonstrates understanding. Each intentional effort strengthens your ability to influence ethically and effectively. Influence is also enhanced by preparation, understanding your audience, anticipating concerns, and framing ideas in relatable ways increases receptivity and reduces resistance. Timing, clarity, and empathy converge to create persuasive communication that feels natural rather than forced. By cultivating influence through authenticity, emotional intelligence, and strategic communication, you create an environment where people are inspired to act, collaborate, and follow your lead willingly. Influence is a skill that grows with deliberate practice, observation, and reflection. Start by mastering small interactions, convincing a colleague, guiding a conversation, or motivating a team member, and gradually expand to larger contexts. With time, your presence, communication, and consistent actions become a magnetic force that naturally draws people toward your ideas. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to inspire, guide, and impact. Influence is not about control. It is about alignment, aligning your intentions, values, and actions with the needs, motivations, and aspirations of others. The more you practice, the more natural, effortless, and powerful your influence becomes, leaving a lasting impression in every conversation, decision, and interaction you engage in. Approach every interaction with awareness, empathy, and clarity, and watch your ability to inspire, persuade, and lead grow exponentially. Chapter 4. The Strength of Authenticity. Authenticity is the cornerstone of influence, connection, and presence. Yet it is often misunderstood or underestimated. What if the key to captivating others was not about being flashy, persuasive, or charismatic, but simply being genuinely yourself? Authenticity is the alignment between who you are on the inside and how you present yourself to the world. When your values, beliefs, and actions are consistent, people instinctively trust, respect, and gravitate toward you. Strength in authenticity comes from self-awareness and courage. It requires knowing your values, understanding your motivations, and acting in ways that reflect them consistently. Consider a leader who makes decisions rooted in principle rather than convenience or popularity. Their team may not always agree with every choice, but they respect the clarity, integrity, and confidence that the leader demonstrates. Authenticity builds credibility because people sense when someone is genuine. It cannot be faked. Attempts to mimic behaviors, emotions, or attitudes without internal alignment are usually transparent and undermine trust. Flow in authenticity is about letting your genuine character guide interactions naturally. You do not need elaborate strategies or techniques to impress others. Simply being consistent, honest, and present is enough. When authenticity flows, your words, tone, posture, and energy all reinforce one another, creating a coherent and compelling personal presence. Connectivity deepens authenticity by linking your internal values to external actions. Every decision, conversation, and behavior that reflects your true self reinforces the narrative that you are trustworthy and dependable. Repetition of authentic behaviors strengthens this perception over time, creating a magnetic effect that draws people in. Authenticity also requires vulnerability. Sharing your thoughts, challenges, and imperfections in measured ways fosters trust and connection. People are drawn to those who are not afraid to be human, who acknowledge mistakes, and who show humility alongside competence. Historical examples illuminate the power of authenticity. Leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Nelson Mandela, and Mother Teresa commanded respect and influence not through superficial charm, but through genuine alignment of principles, action, and communication. Their authenticity created deep emotional resonance, inspiring millions to follow, collaborate, and act in alignment with shared ideals. Daily practices enhance authenticity. Begin with self-reflection. Identify your core values, strengths, and areas for growth. Evaluate whether your actions, decisions, and communications consistently reflect these principles. When misalignment occurs, adjust consciously. Presence amplifies authenticity. When you are fully present in interactions, your genuine self is communicated effortlessly. Eye contact, attentive listening, and deliberate actions all signal engagement and sincerity. People intuitively respond to this, creating deeper connections and fostering influence without force. Authenticity is also crucial in communication. Speak with clarity and honesty. Avoid exaggeration, and ensure that your words reflect your true thoughts and intentions. Over time, this consistency builds reputation, credibility, and trust, making your interactions more effective and memorable. Call to action lies in intentional practice. Begin by observing your behavior and comparing it to your internal values. Identify moments where you may act out of fear, convenience, or societal pressure rather than authenticity. Practice aligning your words and actions with who you truly are. Authenticity grows stronger when combined with empathy. Being true to yourself does not mean disregarding the perspectives, needs, or feelings of others. Instead, it requires balancing self-expression with awareness and consideration of those around you. This alignment strengthens relationships, enhances collaboration, and amplifies your influence. Storytelling is a powerful tool for expressing authenticity. Sharing personal experiences, challenges, and lessons learned allows others to see your genuine self, creating relatability and trust. Stories that reflect your values and principles resonate more deeply than abstract advice or impersonal instructions. Influence through authenticity also requires courage. It is often easier to conform, please others, or take the path of least resistance. Authentic individuals make decisions based on principle, even when faced with opposition or uncertainty. This courage reinforces credibility, inspires confidence, and establishes a clear identity that others can rely upon. Authenticity is cumulative. Each genuine interaction, consistent behavior, and principled decision strengthens your personal brand and presence. Over time, people recognize and respond to this consistency, forming bonds rooted in trust, respect, and admiration. Small, deliberate actions make a profound difference. Express appreciation honestly. Give constructive feedback with sincerity, and admit mistakes openly. Each action reinforces your authentic self and enhances your ability to connect, influence, and inspire. Presence, influence, connection, and authenticity are interconnected. Authenticity serves as the foundation upon which these other qualities thrive. Without authenticity, influence may feel manipulative, presence may feel superficial, and connections may lack depth. By cultivating authenticity intentionally, you reinforce every other skill, creating a magnetic, compelling, and trustworthy personal presence. Begin today by examining your thoughts, behaviors, and communications. Ask yourself, are my actions aligned with my values? Do I express my true self consistently? Am I present and engaged in interactions? Make adjustments where necessary. Practice vulnerability and embrace your individuality. Authenticity is not perfection. It is honesty, integrity, and alignment. The more consistently you live authentically, the more naturally people respond to you with trust, engagement, and admiration. As you refine this skill, you will notice a transformation in your relationships, influence, and personal satisfaction. Authenticity is the silent force that makes others listen, connect, and follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. It is the most powerful form of presence, the cornerstone of influence, and the key to lasting, meaningful connections. Step into your authenticity today, and let it shape every interaction, decision, and moment of your life, creating impact that is both profound and enduring. Chapter 5. The Discipline of Confidence. Confidence is often mistaken for loudness, dominance, or flawless self-belief. Yet true confidence is far quieter and far more powerful. What if confidence was not something you waited to feel, but something you practiced into existence? Real confidence is not the absence of fear or doubt. It is the discipline of acting with clarity and composure despite them. It is the steady inner posture that communicates self-trust before any words are spoken. People respond instinctively to confidence because it signals reliability, capability, and emotional stability. When someone appears confident, others feel safer following, listening, and engaging. Confidence begins internally, long before it shows externally. It is rooted in self-respect, preparation, and consistency. Those who cultivate confidence intentionally do not rely on mood, praise, or external validation. Instead, they build it through repeated actions aligned with their values. Strength in confidence comes from competence combined with acceptance. Competence grows through learning, practice, and experience, while acceptance comes from understanding that imperfection is not failure. While the other steps forward despite uncertainty, trusting their ability to adapt. The second person grows more confident with each experience, while the first remains trapped by hesitation. Confidence is built through movement, not waiting. Flowing confidence is reflected in behavior that feels grounded rather than forced. Calm posture, measured speech, and deliberate movement communicate assurance. Rushed actions, over-explaining, or defensive responses signal insecurity, even when knowledge is present. Confidence flows when thoughts, emotions, and actions align. This alignment allows communication to feel natural and authoritative without aggression. Mental discipline plays a critical role. The way you speak to yourself determines how confidently you act. And speaking with clarity sends strong signals to others and to yourself. The body and mind are interconnected. When the body adopts confident behaviors, the mind follows. This feedback loop reinforces confidence internally and externally. Confidence also thrives on boundaries. Knowing when to say no, when to speak up, and when to step back communicates. People trust those who respect themselves because it suggests emotional maturity and stability. Boundaries prevent burnout, resentment, and insecurity, allowing confidence to remain steady rather than reactive. Confidence in communication is especially powerful. Speaking clearly, avoiding unnecessary qualifiers, and expressing ideas with conviction makes your message more persuasive and memorable. Confident speakers do not need to dominate conversations. They contribute with purpose. Silence, when used intentionally, can be as powerful as words. A calm pause often carries more authority than rushed explanations. Emotional regulation is another pillar of confidence. Remaining composed under pressure signals strength and reliability. This does not mean suppressing emotion, but managing it skillfully. A confident individual acknowledges stress or uncertainty without being overwhelmed by it. This emotional steadiness reassures others and reinforces leadership presence. Call to action begins with disciplined practice. Confidence is not a personality trait. It is a beat. Start by preparing thoroughly for tasks and conversations. Preparation builds competence, and competence fuels confidence. Next, practice intentional posture, breathing, and speech in daily interactions. These small behaviors compound into powerful presence. Challenge avoidance patterns. When you notice hesitation, act deliberately rather than retreating. Each courageous step strengthens your internal foundation. Reflect regularly on progress. shaping every interaction and amplifying your ability to connect, influence, and lead with quiet strength. Chapter 6. The Power of Emotional Control. Emotional control is often misunderstood as emotional suppression, but true mastery lies not in denying feelings, but in directing them with awareness and intention. What if your emotions became tools rather than obstacles? Sources of strength rather than reactions that control your behavior. Emotional control is the foundation of composure, clarity, and credibility. People trust those who remain steady under pressure because stability signals reliability and wisdom. When emotions are unmanaged, even intelligence and skill lose their impact. Strength in emotional control begins with awareness. You cannot manage what you do not recognize. Every emotion carries information, and learning to read that information without being consumed by it is a mark of maturity. Anger may signal injustice, fear may indicate risk, and frustration may reveal misalignment. The goal is not to eliminate emotion, but to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. Emotional control allows you to pause, assess, and choose behavior aligned with values instead of reacting automatically. This pause is powerful. It separates intention from impulse and transforms emotional energy into deliberate action. Flow and emotional control appears as calm continuity in behavior. A person with emotional mastery does not swing dramatically between extremes. Their responses are measured, proportional, and purposeful. This steadiness creates psychological safety for others, encouraging trust and openness. In conversations, emotional control allows listening without defensiveness and speaking without hostility. In conflict, it enables resolution rather than escalation. Connectivity deepens emotional control by linking inner awareness to external conduct. Each emotionally intelligent response reinforces your self-image as someone capable of handling pressure. Over time, this identity becomes stable, making emotional control more natural and less effortful. Emotional regulation also strengthens presence. When your emotional state is balanced, your posture relaxes, your voice steadies, and your attention sharpens. Others feel this stability instinctively and respond with respect and confidence. Emotional control is especially critical in leadership and influence. People look to leaders during uncertainty, not for perfection, but for calm direction. A leader who reacts emotionally creates chaos. One who responds thoughtfully creates clarity. Historical figures known for their influence often shared this trait, an ability to remain composed in adversity while maintaining empathy and resolve. Emotional control does not remove passion. It refines. Italiano. Passion guided by discipline becomes persuasive and inspiring rather than overwhelming. In everyday life, emotional control improves relationships. It prevents misunderstandings from turning into conflicts and allows honest communication without damage. It enables boundaries without aggression and vulnerability without loss of dignity. Emotional mastery also enhances when emotions are acknowledged but not obeyed blindly, choices become clearer and more rational. Stress narrows perspective, but emotional control expands it. Practicing emotional control requires consistent effort. Begin by observing emotional patterns without judgment. Notice triggers, habitual reactions, and recurring feelings. Awareness alone reduces emotional intensity. Next, practice pausing. A brief breath before responding can interrupt automatic reactions and create space for choice. This pause is the gateway to control. Language matters. The way you interpret events internally shapes emotional response. Replace catastrophic thinking with grounded assessment. Instead of assuming intent, seek clarity. Instead of labeling situations as failures, view them as feedback. These cognitive shifts strengthen emotional resilience. Connectivity is reinforced when emotional responses align with long-term goals rather than short-term relief. Reacting emotionally may feel satisfying momentarily, but responding with control preserves dignity, trust, and influence. Over time, this consistency builds a reputation for emotional strength. Presence is amplified when emotions are regulated. Eye contact becomes steady, gestures become intentional, and speech becomes clear. Emotional control allows silence to be comfortable rather than awkward, allowing others to speak and feel heard. This calm attentiveness enhances connection and influence. Emotional intelligence also requires empathy. Understanding others' emotions without absorbing them is a delicate balance. Empathy guided by control allows compassion without burnout. It enables support without self. This balance is essential for sustainable leadership and meaningful relationships. Call to action begins with practice. Emotional control is not developed in calm moments alone, but in tension, disagreement, and uncertainty. Commit to observing your emotional responses daily. When emotions arise, name them, pause, and choose a response aligned with your values. Strengthen emotional discipline through reflection. After challenging interactions, review what you felt, how you responded, and what you learned. This process turns experience into wisdom. Incorporate physical regulation techniques, such as slow breathing, posture awareness, and deliberate movement. The body influences the mind, and calming the body supports emotional balance. Reduce emotional noise by limiting unnecessary stressors and distractions. Rest, clarity, and focus are allies of emotional control. Build routines that support mental stability and emotional clarity. Remember that emotional control is not coldness or detachment. It is strength with compassion, discipline with humanity. It allows you to remain open without being overwhelmed and strong without becoming rigid. As you cultivate this skill, others will notice your steadiness, seek your guidance, and trust your leadership. Emotional control becomes a quiet authority, a stabilizing presence that influences without force. When emotions serve rather than rule you, your presence deepens, your confidence steadies, and your influence expands naturally. Master your emotions, and you master the foundation upon which all other personal power is built. Chapter 7. The Authority of Calm. Calm is one of the most underestimated sources of authority in a noisy, reactive world. What if the most powerful person in the room was not the loudest, fastest, or most aggressive, but the one who remained steady while others rushed and reacted? Calm creates gravity. It slows the environment, sharpens focus, and signals control. When someone speaks calmly, moves deliberately, and reacts thoughtfully, people instinctively pay attention. Calm communicates confidence, emotional mastery, and clarity without needing explanation. Authority rooted in calm does not demand respect. It attracts Italiano. Strength in calm comes from inner stability. A calm individual is not free from pressure, uncertainty, or challenge, but they are not ruled by them. They understand that panic clouds judgment, haste creates mistakes, and emotional reactivity weakens influence. Calm allows the mind to stay open, flexible, and responsive. It creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space, wisdom emerges. Calm authority is especially visible in moments of tension. When disagreements arise, most people react defensively, raise their voice, or rush to assert control. The calm individual listens fully, pauses before responding, and chooses words carefully. This behavior shifts the dynamic immediately. Others slow down. Defensiveness decreases, and clarity replaces chaos. Calm does not escalate. It's to be. Flow in calm authority is reflected in rhythm and pacing. Speech becomes measured rather than rushed, movements intentional rather than restless, decisions thoughtful rather than impulsive. This rhythm reassures others and creates psychological safety. Teams, relationships, and conversations function better when someone anchors the emotional tone with calm presence. Calm also improves perception. When you are calm, you notice subtleties others miss. Tone shifts, body language, unspoken concerns. This awareness strengthens connection and influence. Connectivity deepens calm authority by linking emotional control, confidence, and presence into a unified expression. Calm is not a separate trait. It is the visible outcome of emotional discipline and self. Each time you respond calmly under pressure, you reinforce your identity as someone reliable and composed. Over time, this consistency builds a reputation that precedes you. People begin to trust your judgment, seek your input, and defer to your leadership naturally. Calm authority is evident in history and everyday life. The most respected leaders during crises are often remembered not for dramatic speeches, but for their steady presence and clear thinking. They reassured others not by promising certainty, but by demonstrating composure. In personal relationships, calm individuals become emotional anchors. Friends, partners, and colleagues feel safer sharing concerns because calm creates space without judgment. Calm also strengthens emotional turbulence narrows options, but calm expands perspective. When calm, you can weigh consequences, consider alternatives, and choose responses aligned with long-term goals rather than short-term relief. This clarity enhances credibility. People trust decisions made from calm more than those driven by urgency or emotion. Calm authority also relies on restraint. Knowing when not to speak, when to pause, and when to let silence do the work is a powerful skill. Silence used intentionally communicates confidence and control. It allows others to reflect, reveal more information, or adjust their behavior. Calm individuals are comfortable with silence because they do not need constant validation. They trust their presence. Presence is amplified through calm. Eye contact becomes steady rather than intense, posture relaxed rather than rigid, and gestures minimal but purposeful. These signals communicate ease and self. Calm presence lowers the emotional temperature of a room and invites cooperation. Even disagreement feels less threatening when approached calmly. Cultivating calm requires discipline. It begins with awareness of internal states. Recognize early signs of stress, agitation, or urgency before they escalate. Physical cues, such as shallow breathing, tension, or restlessness, are signals to slow down. Breathing deeply, grounding posture, and relaxing the body help regulate the nervous system and restore calm. Mental habits also shape calm. Reframing situations reduces emotional intensity. Instead of interpreting challenges as threats, view them as problems to solve. Replace urgency with intention. Ask, what is the most effective response? Rather than, how do I react? This shift preserves calm even in demanding situations. Connectivity strengthens when calm is aligned with values. Acting calmly is not about avoidance or passivity. It is about choosing responses that reflect integrity and purpose. Calm allows firmness without aggression and boundaries without hostility. This balance enhances respect and trust. Calm authority does not mean detachment. It includes empathy and understanding. Calm individuals acknowledge emotions, both their own and others, without being overwhelmed by them. This balance creates warmth alongside strength. People feel both supported and guided, which is the essence of effective leadership. Call to action begins with intentional slowing. Practice pausing before responding in conversations. Let silence exist without rushing to fill it. Observe how this changes the dynamic. Cultivate daily habits that support calm, such as mindful breathing, reflective thinking, and deliberate pacing. Reduce unnecessary stimulation and distractions that fragment attention and increase reactivity. Choose clarity over speed. In moments of pressure, anchor yourself, physically steady your posture, relax your shoulders, and breathe slowly. These small actions send signals of safety to your nervous system, restoring calm. Reflect on situations where calm could improve outcomes and rehearse calm responses mentally. Preparation strengthens composure. Remember that calm is contagious. Your emotional state influences others more than your words. When you remain calm, you give others permission to do the same. Over time, calm becomes your signature, a quiet authority that shapes environments and interactions effortlessly. Calm does not shout, it resonates. It does not rush, it endures. As you cultivate calm, your presence deepens, your decisions sharpen, and your influence expands. Authority built on calm is stable, respected, and enduring. Step into calm deliberately, and allow it to become the foundation of your leadership, relationships, and personal power. Chapter 8. The Clarity of Purpose. Purpose is the quiet force that gives direction to effort and meaning to action. What if every step you took felt intentional, every decision aligned, and every challenge meaningful rather than exhausting? Without purpose, energy scatters, and motivation fades. With purpose, even difficult paths feel worthwhile. Clarity of purpose is not about grand declarations or distant ideals. It is about knowing why you do what you do and letting that understanding guide your behavior consistently. Purpose anchors identity. When you are clear about what matters most, choices become simpler, distractions lose power, and confidence strengthens. Strength in purpose comes from alignment. When actions match values, internal conflict decreases, and external consistency increases. People sense this alignment intuitively. They trust individuals whose behavior reflects clear priorities and steady intent. Purpose-driven individuals do not need constant validation or direction. They operate from an internal compass. This self-direction creates reliability and inspires confidence in others. Purpose also fuels resilience. Challenges that might discourage others become tests of commitment rather than reasons to quit. Flow emerges when purpose guides momentum. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you respond intentionally. Transitions feel smoother because each step connects to a larger direction. Conversations become focused, efforts more efficient, and progress more sustainable. When purpose is clear, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and yes to what truly matters. Connectivity strengthens. When purpose links past experiences, present actions, and future goals into a coherent narrative, every decision reinforces identity. Over time, this consistency builds credibility and trust. People begin to understand what you stand for, what you prioritize, and what they can expect from you. Purpose makes your behavior predictable in the best way. It reduces confusion and builds respect. Clarity of purpose also enhances presence. When you know why you are there, your posture steadies, your voice strengthens, and your attention sharpens. Uncertainty creates hesitation. Purpose creates grounded confidence. Even silence carries weight when it is rooted in clarity. Purpose-driven presence communicates intention without explanation. Purpose is also a powerful motivator for others. People are drawn to those who act with conviction and meaning. Whether in leadership, collaboration, or personal relationships, purpose creates direction and momentum. Teams function better when guided by clear purpose, and individuals perform better when they understand how their efforts contribute to something meaningful. History reflects this repeatedly. Movements, innovations, and transformations are driven not by comfort, but by clarity of purpose. Purpose does not eliminate fear, but it gives courage context. Fear becomes manageable when it is in service of something meaningful. Purpose also guides decision-making under pressure. When choices are difficult, purpose acts as a filter. Instead of weighing every option equally, you assess which aligns most closely with your values and long-term direction. This clarity reduces stress and increases confidence in decisions. Purpose-driven choices may not always be easy, but they are rarely regretted. Developing clarity of purpose requires reflection. It begins with understanding values, strengths, and motivations. Ask yourself what you care about deeply, what problems you feel drawn to solve, and what kind of impact you want to have. Purpose is personal. It does not need to impress others. It needs to guide you. Purpose evolves over time, but its core remains stable when rooted in values. Connectivity grows when purpose is expressed consistently through action. Small daily choices matter. How you spend time, where you focus energy, and what you tolerate all reflect purpose, whether consciously or not. Becoming intentional about these choices strengthens alignment and reduces internal friction. Purpose also supports boundaries. When you know what matters, it becomes easier to protect your time, energy, and attention. Boundaries are not barriers. They are commitments to purpose. They allow you to invest deeply where it counts, rather than being spread thin everywhere. Purpose enhances communication. When you speak from purpose, your words carry weight. Messages become clearer, more persuasive, and more memorable. People understand not just what you are saying, but why it matters. This clarity fosters trust and engagement. Purpose also deepens resilience. Setbacks become feedback rather than failure. Progress is measured not only by outcomes, but by alignment. Even when results fall short, purpose provides stability and direction. Call to action begins with intentional clarity. Take time to define what matters most to you. Write it down. Reflect on how your daily actions align with that purpose. Identify areas where alignment can improve. Begin making small adjustments that reflect intentional living. Review decisions through the lens of purpose. Ask whether they move you closer to or further from what matters. Practice communicating purpose clearly in conversations and actions. Let purpose guide your pace, priorities, and presence. Purpose is not found in perfection. It is built through commitment. Each aligned action reinforces clarity and strengthens confidence. Over time, purpose becomes visible in your presence, trusted in your decisions, and felt in your influence. Clarity of purpose transforms effort into impact, motion into progress, and ambition into meaning. When you act with purpose, you move through the world with direction, resilience, and quiet authority. Let purpose guide you, and allow it to shape every step you take, every choice you make, and every connection you build. Chapter 9. Emotional Mastery and Inner Control. True strength is not loud dominance or emotional suppression. It is the ability to understand, manage, and direct emotions rather than being controlled by them. Emotional mastery begins with awareness. Before emotions can be guided, they must be recognized. Many people live reactively, driven by impulse, frustration, fear, or desire, without pausing to understand what they are feeling or why. This lack of awareness weakens judgment and damages relationships. When emotions rule behavior, consistency disappears. Emotional mastery restores control by creating space between feeling and action. That space is where wisdom operates. Inner control does not mean denying emotion. It means acknowledging emotion without surrendering to it. Anger can be present without aggression. Fear can exist without paralysis. Confidence can rise without arrogance. This balance is the foundation of maturity and influence. Strength grows when emotions are processed consciously rather than expressed impulsively. Emotional discipline builds credibility. People trust those who remain steady under pressure, who respond thoughtfully rather than react explosively. Calm presence signals reliability. It reassures others and stabilizes environments. Emotional mastery also enhances when emotions are unmanaged, decisions become distorted by urgency or ego. When emotions are understood, decisions align with long-term goals rather than short-term relief. Flow develops when emotional regulation supports mental clarity instead of emotional spikes. Disrupting focus, energy remains steady. Challenges are approached with curiosity rather than defensiveness. Feedback becomes information rather than personal attack. This smooth emotional flow improves learning, communication, and performance. Connectivity deepens when emotional awareness links internal experience with external behavior. Emotions provide valuable data. They signal boundaries, needs, and values. When interpreted correctly, emotions strengthen self-understanding and empathy. Emotional mastery allows you to listen beneath words, to sense tension, motivation, or resistance in yourself and others. This sensitivity enhances connection without sacrificing control. Relationships thrive when emotions are expressed honestly and respectfully. Emotional intelligence strengthens leadership and collaboration. People feel safer and more engaged when they are understood rather than judged. Mastery also protects against manipulation. When you understand your emotional triggers, others lose power to exploit them. Inner control creates independence. Emotional reactions no longer dictate actions, values, and purpose. Emotional resilience grows through practice. It requires patience and self-observation. Notice patterns. What situations trigger strong reactions? What beliefs amplify emotional intensity? Often emotions are intensified by interpretation rather than events themselves. Reframing perspective reduces emotional volatility. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" This shift transforms emotion into growth. Emotional mastery also involves recovery. Everyone experiences emotional disruption. The key is not avoidance, but recovery speed. How quickly you regain balance matters more than how often you lose it. Techniques such as reflection, breathing, physical movement, and intentional pause help restore equilibrium. Over time, recovery becomes faster and emotional stability strengthens. Emotional discipline enhances communication. Words spoken from heightened emotion often create regret. Words chosen with awareness create clarity and trust. Silence, when intentional, can be more powerful than reaction. Emotional mastery teaches when to speak, when to listen, and when to wait. This timing improves influence. Present becomes grounded. People sense when emotions are integrated rather than suppressed. Suppression creates tension. Mastery creates calm confidence. Inner control also supports self-respect. When actions align with values, despite emotional pressure, self-trust increases. You begin to believe in your ability to handle challenges with integrity. This self-trust fuels confidence. Emotional mastery is essential during conflict. Conflict is inevitable, but damage is optional. When emotions escalate unchecked, conflicts intensify. When emotions are regulated, conflicts become opportunities for understanding and resolution. Calm responses de-escalate tension and invite dialogue. Emotional mastery also enhances adaptability. Change often triggers fear and resistance. When emotions are acknowledged without resistance, adaptation becomes smoother. Instead of clinging to comfort, you engage with growth. Emotional flexibility allows movement through uncertainty without losing stability. This adaptability is essential in leadership and personal development. Connectivity between emotion and purpose strengthens motivation. Purpose gives emotions direction. Frustration becomes fuel rather than obstruction. Passion becomes disciplined rather than chaotic. Emotional energy, when aligned with purpose, drives sustained effort. Without purpose, emotions scatter energy. With purpose, emotions empower action. Emotional mastery also improves well-being. Chronic emotional reactivity creates stress and exhaustion. Regulation reduces mental strain and supports physical health. Calm focus conserves energy. Emotional balance creates space for creativity, empathy, and joy. Mastery does not eliminate emotion. It refines it. Emotions become tools rather than obstacles. Developing emotional mastery requires consistent practice. Begin with observation. Pause before reacting. Name the emotion you are feeling. Identify the belief behind it. Choose a response aligned with your values rather than your impulse. Practice empathy by considering other perspectives. Reflect after emotional moments to learn and adjust. Over time, awareness becomes automatic. Inner control strengthens. Emotional mastery transforms identity. You become someone who is steady under pressure, clear in communication, and intentional in action. Others rely on you because you are predictable in principle, not reactive in mood. Call to action begins now. Commit to emotional awareness. Practice pausing before reacting. Choose responses that reflect who you want to be, not just how you feel. Use emotions as information, not instruction. Strengthen recovery, not suppression. Let purpose guide emotional energy. Emotional mastery is not a destination. It is a discipline. Weak practice emotions become allies. Clarity replaces chaos, and inner control becomes your greatest strength. Chapter 10. Influence without force. What makes someone influential without raising their voice, demanding obedience, or relying on authority? True influence does not come from control. It comes from trust, clarity, and consistency. Force creates compliance, but influence creates commitment. People may obey power temporarily, but they follow influence willingly. Influence without force is the ability to shape thoughts, inspire action, and guide direction while respecting autonomy. This form of influence is durable because it is rooted in credibility rather than coercion. Strength in influence begins with character. When actions align with words, trust forms naturally. People listen to those who are reliable, fair, and authentic. Influence grows when others feel understood rather than manipulated. Listening becomes a powerful tool. When people feel heard, resistance decreases and openness increases. Influence is strengthened by empathy, not dominance. Flow develops when influence is expressed through calm presence and thoughtful communication. Conversations move smoothly when pressure is absent. Questions invite reflection. Silence allows space for consideration. Influence does not rush, it guides. This gentle pacing builds comfort and reduces defensiveness. Connectivity forms when influence is tied to shared values and goals. Instead of imposing direction, influential individuals connect ideas to what others already care about. This alignment transforms suggestion into motivation. People act not because they are told to, but because the action resonates with their values. Influence becomes collaborative rather than confrontational. Credibility is the foundation of influence. It is built through consistency over time. Small actions matter. Keeping promises, showing respect, and maintaining integrity accumulate trust. Once trust is established, influence flows naturally. Without trust, even logical arguments fail. Influence also requires clarity. Ambiguous messages create confusion and hesitation. Clear intentions, articulated simply, invite confidence. People are more likely to follow when direction is understandable and purpose is visible. Clarity reduces anxiety and increases engagement. Influence without force also depends on emotional intelligence. Understanding the emotional state of others allows messages to be delivered appropriately. Timing matters. A well-timed suggestion can achieve more than repeated commands. Emotional awareness helps adjust tone, pace, and approach. This sensitivity enhances receptivity. Flow improves when influence is expressed through dialogue rather than monologue. Asking questions encourages ownership. When people arrive at conclusions themselves, commitment strengthens. Influence respects autonomy and invites participation. This shared process builds long-term alignment. Connectivity strengthens when influence links present action to future benefit. People are motivated when they see how choices contribute to progress or growth. Influence highlights consequences without threat. It frames possibilities rather than punishments. This positive orientation sustains motivation. Influence without force also requires patience. Immediate results are less important than lasting change. Rushed influence often backfires, creating resistance or resentment. Patient influence allows understanding to deepen and trust to solidify. Over time, this approach yields stronger results. Influence extends beyond words. Nonverbal cues communicate intention. Calm posture, steady eye contact, and open body language reinforce trust. Consistency between verbal and nonverbal signals strengthens credibility. People sense incongruence quickly. Authentic influence requires alignment across behavior, tone, and message. Influence is amplified by example. Actions speak louder than persuasion. When behavior reflects values, influence becomes effortless. Others observe and emulate. Leading by example removes the need for force. Influence also benefits from humility. Admitting limitations and acknowledging others' contributions builds respect. Humility disarms defensiveness and encourages collaboration. Influence grows when ego diminishes. Influence without force is especially powerful in leadership. Teams thrive under guidance that empowers rather than controls. Autonomy increases engagement. Trust increases accountability. Influence-based leadership fosters creativity and commitment. People invest more when they feel valued and trusted. Connectivity between influence and purpose enhances impact. Purpose gives influence direction. Without purpose, influence becomes manipulation. With purpose, influence becomes service. Ethical influence seeks mutual benefit and long-term good. Influence aligned with purpose earns loyalty. Resistance often signals unmet needs or misunderstood perspectives. Influential individuals address resistance with curiosity rather than pressure. They seek to understand before being understood. This approach transforms opposition into dialogue. Influence becomes adaptive rather than rigid. Developing influence without force requires self-awareness. Examine motivations. Are you seeking control or collaboration? Adjust approach accordingly. Practice active listening. Speak with clarity and respect. Align actions with values. Build trust through consistency. Influence also requires courage. It takes confidence to lead without coercion, to trust process over pressure. This courage is rewarded with deeper loyalty and sustainable impact. Call to action begins with intention. Choose influence over force. Practice listening before speaking. Align words with actions. Build trust through consistency. Guide rather than push. Inspire rather than command. Influence without force is not weakness. It is refined strength. It creates environments where people choose to contribute, grow, and follow. When influence replaces control, leadership becomes service, communication becomes connection, and progress becomes shared. Let your influence be grounded in trust, shaped by clarity, and guided by purpose. Chapter 11. Integrity as the ultimate advantage. What if the most powerful advantage you could develop was invisible, silent, and impossible to fake? Integrity is often misunderstood as mere honesty, but it is far more comprehensive. Integrity is alignment between values, words, and actions across time and circumstances. It is who you are when no one is watching, and how you behave when pressure tempts compromise. Integrity creates internal coherence. When actions match beliefs, inner conflict dissolves and confidence strengthens. This alignment becomes a quiet source of power. Strength rooted in integrity is durable. Skills can be copied, strategies can be learned, and authority can be granted. But integrity must be earned and sustained. People trust those whose behavior remains consistent, regardless of convenience. Trust is the currency of influence, and integrity is its foundation. Without integrity, credibility erodes, relationships weaken, and leadership collapses. With integrity, even mistakes are forgiven because intent is trusted. Flow emerges when integrity removes the need for constant justification. Decisions become simpler when guided by clear values. Instead of calculating short-term gain, integrity evaluates long-term impact. This clarity reduces hesitation and stress. Actions feel lighter because they align with conscience. Consistency across situations creates predictability, which others find reassuring. Connectivity strengthens when integrity links private behavior with public conduct. There is no division between who you are and who you present to be. This wholeness builds respect. People sense authenticity instinctively. When words and actions align, communication gains weight. Promises are believed, commitments are honored, and trust compounds over time. Integrity also enhances resilience. When facing adversity, those grounded in integrity do not compromise to escape discomfort. They endure difficulty with dignity, knowing that self-respect is worth more than temporary relief. Integrity provides a stable identity during change. When external circumstances shift, values remain constant, offering direction and grounding. Integrity influences others without effort. Example becomes instruction. Observing principled behavior encourages similar conduct. Integrity sets standards without enforcing them. It creates culture through demonstration rather than mandate. In teams and communities, integrity fosters accountability and mutual respect. People rise to expectations when fairness and consistency are visible. Integrity also supports effective communication. Truth spoken with respect builds clarity and trust. Avoiding deception reduces complexity. There is no need to remember different versions of a story or manage contradictions. Simplicity strengthens credibility. Integrity does not require perfection. It requires responsibility. Admitting mistakes, correcting errors, and learning from failure are expressions of integrity. Accountability builds trust more effectively than denial. Integrity also protects against ethical drift. Small compromises accumulate, gradually eroding character. Integrity draws a clear line, preventing gradual decline. It reinforces boundaries that protect long-term reputation and self-worth. In leadership, integrity is non-negotiable. Authority without integrity breeds fear or resentment. Integrity-based leadership inspires loyalty and commitment. People willingly follow those they trust to act fairly and consistently. Integrity creates psychological safety, allowing open communication and innovation. Connectivity between integrity and purpose strengthens motivation. Purpose without integrity becomes ambition without ethics. Integrity ensures that pursuit of goals remains aligned with values. This alignment sustains long-term success. Shortcuts may offer immediate rewards, but they undermine trust and stability. Integrity chooses sustainability over speed. Integrity also enhances self. When you consistently act according to values, confidence grows. You believe in your judgment and decisions. This self-trust supports decisive action and resilience under pressure. Integrity reduces regret because choices reflect authentic priorities rather than external pressure. Developing integrity requires reflection and commitment. Clarify values. Define non-negociables. Practice consistency in small actions. Daily choices matter. Integrity is built through repetition, not declarations. When values guide mundane decisions, they will guide critical ones. Integrity also requires courage. Upholding values may involve loss, criticism, or discomfort. Courage sustains integrity when compromise seems easier. Over time, this courage earns respect, even from those who disagree. Integrity's rewards are often delayed but enduring. Reputation strengthens gradually. Trust deepens with experience. Influence grows organically. Integrity becomes an asset that compounds. Call to action begins. Now, examine alignment between values and actions. Identify areas where consistency can improve. Commit to honesty, responsibility, and fairness, even when inconvenient. Choose long-term respect over short-term gain. Let integrity guide decisions and behavior. Integrity is not a strategy. It is a standard. It is the ultimate advantage because it cannot be taken away, replicated, or diminished by circumstance. When integrity leads, success follows, with meaning, trust, and lasting impact. Chapter 12. Integration and Transformation, Leadership in Practice. Leadership is not merely a collection of skills, principles, or concepts. It is a living practice that integrates vision, trust, emotional intelligence. In this final chapter, we examine how all elements of leadership converge to create transformation, both for the leader and those they guide. Leadership, when fully realized, reshapes organizations, influences communities, and leaves lasting impact on individuals and systems alike. Integration begins with self-leadership. The foundation of effective leadership, as explored in Chapter 2, is mastery over one's own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Leaders who can regulate impulses, maintain clarity of purpose, and exercise disciplined decision-making serve as stable anchors for others. Self-leadership is not static, it evolves with experience, reflection, and continuous learning. Leaders who invest in themselves cultivate resilience, awareness, and adaptability, forming the cornerstone upon which all other leadership capacities are built. Vision transforms potential into direction. Chapter 10 highlighted the importance of foresight and strategic imagination. Integrated leadership links personal clarity to collective purpose, enabling leaders to articulate an inspiring picture of the future while guiding tangible steps toward achieving it. Vision acts as a compass, aligning actions, decisions, and behaviors across individuals and teams. Without vision, even the most capable leaders may act effectively yet fail to achieve meaningful outcomes. Trust, discussed in Chapter 5, is the glue that binds leadership practice. Integration requires that leaders earn and sustain trust through integrity, accountability, transparency, and fairness. Trust enables influence, facilitates collaboration, and encourages innovation. When integrated with vision, trust ensures that teams commit fully, engage meaningfully, and align their efforts with collective objectives. A leader who lacks trust may have knowledge and skill, but their impact remains limited and transient. Emotional intelligence, from Chapter 7, provides the relational and interpersonal dimension of leadership. Self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and relationship management allow leaders to navigate complex human dynamics effectively. Integration ensures that vision, decision-making, and ethical principles are executed in ways that resonate with people, fostering engagement, motivation, and loyalty. Leadership without emotional intelligence risks alienation, resistance, and fragmentation. Decision-making, highlighted in Chapter 6, is the operational expression of leadership. Integrated leadership ensures that every choice reflects alignment with vision, trust, ethical standards, and strategic priorities. Leaders must balance analysis with action, risk with opportunity, and short-term demands with long-term objectives. Decision-making becomes transformative when it consistently translates abstract principles into tangible outcomes, demonstrating the practical power of integrated leadership. Adaptability, examined in Chapter 8, allows leaders to navigate uncertainty without compromising integrity or purpose. Integrated leadership responds to change strategically, preserving core principles while adjusting methods and tactics. Adaptability ensures that vision remains relevant, decisions remain effective, and teams remain resilient, even in volatile or ambiguous environments. Leaders who integrate adaptability into practice transform challenges into opportunities for growth and innovation. Collaboration and teamwork, discussed in Chapter 9, magnify leadership impact. Integration recognizes that leadership is not a solo endeavor. It is amplified when diverse talents, skills, and perspectives are mobilized toward shared objectives. Effective leaders cultivate cohesion, distribute authority responsibly, and create inclusive environments where ideas flow freely. Collaboration ensures that transformation is collective, scalable, and sustainable. Ethical leadership, from Chapter 11, grounds all actions in principle. Integration of ethics ensures that influence is exercised responsibly, decisions serve the greater good, and progress is achieved without compromising values. Leaders who fail to integrate ethical considerations risk short-term success but long-term collapse. Ethical leadership ensures that transformation is constructive, equitable, and enduring, leaving a legacy of trust, respect, and positive impact. Practical integration also involves feedback, reflection, and continuous learning. Leaders must evaluate outcomes, solicit input, and adjust strategies based on experience. Reflection bridges theory and practice, allowing leaders to refine skills, deepen insight, and align actions with evolving circumstances. Leadership is not static. It is a dynamic process of adaptation, learning, and transformation. Continuous reflection ensures that integration is deliberate rather than accidental. Mentorship and development of others extend the transformative effect of leadership. Leaders who cultivate capability, autonomy, and ethical standards in those they guide create systems of influence that outlast individual tenure. Integration involves transferring knowledge, modeling behavior, and fostering growth within teams. By developing future leaders, current leadership becomes both sustainable and exponentially impactful, reinforcing organizational and societal resilience. Integration also manifests in cultural and systemic change. Leaders shape norms, behaviors, and organizational climate through example, communication, and reinforcement of shared principles. When leadership is fully integrated, it aligns structures, processes, and values to support the vision, ethical standards, and collective objectives. Transformation becomes embedded, influencing not only immediate outcomes, but the long-term trajectory of institutions and communities. Transformation is the ultimate goal of integrated leadership. It encompasses personal growth, team effectiveness, organizational innovation, and societal contribution. Leaders who integrate all dimensions: self-mastery, vision, trust, emotional intelligence, decision-making, adaptability, collaboration, and ethics create environments where individuals thrive, collective potential is realized, and lasting impact is achieved. Transformation is not a single event, but a continuous process of alignment, learning, and action. Challenges in integration are inevitable. Conflicting priorities, competing interests, and unforeseen obstacles test the coherence of leadership. Effective leaders navigate these tensions by maintaining clarity of purpose, ethical grounding, and commitment to collective well-being. Integration requires courage to act consistently under pressure, humility to adjust when necessary, and wisdom to balance competing demands. Leaders who persevere through complexity demonstrate the transformative power of fully integrated leadership. The ripple effect of integrated leadership is profound. Individuals inspired by ethical, emotionally intelligent, and visionary leadership become empowered, motivated, and capable of leading themselves. Teams achieve cohesion, innovation, and resilience. Organizations evolve in ways that align with long-term objectives and ethical principles. Communities benefit from responsible stewardship and principled decision. The integration of leadership elements multiplies influence beyond the leader's immediate reach. Ultimately, integrated leadership is both art and science. It requires knowledge, skill, and strategy, but also intuition, empathy, and moral clarity. Leaders must synthesize diverse competencies into coherent action, harmonizing individual strengths with collective effort. Integration ensures that leadership is not fragmented, reactive, or superficial, but strategic, principled, and transformative. This chapter reinforces a fundamental truth. Leadership is most powerful when fully integrated. The principles explored throughout this book: self-leadership, communication, trust, decision, emotional intelligence, adaptability, collaboration, visionary thinking, and ethics are not isolated skills. They are interdependent. True leadership occurs when these dimensions are woven into consistent, intentional, and principled practice. Integration transforms potential into performance, ideas into action, and influence into enduring impact. As readers reflect on these lessons, the call to action is clear. Cultivate leadership in all its dimensions. Invest in self-mastery. Communicate with clarity. Build trust. Make responsible decisions. Understand and manage emotions. Adapt to change. Foster collaboration. Envision the future. And act ethically. Leadership is not a position or title. It is practice, influence, and responsibility. Integrated leadership creates transformation, leaving a legacy that extends far beyond individual accomplishments, shaping lives, organizations, and the world for the better. This completes the 12-chapter leadership series, each chapter approximately 1,500 words, with seamless integration of the concepts of self-leadership, trust, communication, decision, emotional intelligence, adaptability, collaboration, vision, and ethics.